Oh, righty, you are looking live at Sold Out MetLife Stadium, where today the 16-0 and playoff-bound New York Giants will be taking on the 0-16 Dallas Cowboys. Why the Dallas Cowboys 0-16? Because they suck. Ooh, welcome to the Gridiron. Anybody out there at all that's going to spend a little bit of time with me here this evening, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Or if anybody's going to spend any time watching the replay this, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. I'm going to try to go about 30 minutes here tonight, shoot my mouth off for about 30 minutes. Anybody got anything to say, please feel free, fire away, throw it in the chat box. Usually check on the chat box like every 5 or 10 minutes. As soon as I see something in there, I try to respond to it as fast as I can. So please feel free, fire away. Plus, also, instead of me just rambling on for half an hour, if not longer, it's nice just to talk to another Giant fan. So please feel free and fire away. Before we get started, if anybody wants to help support my channel out, it would mean the absolute world to me. In the description box below, the top link takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. First one's called the Saquon. Second one's called the Lawrence Taylor. And the third membership level I got is called the Gridiron. Each one's got their own little perks to them. So if you want to help support my channel, that would mean the world to me. And I thank you in advance. Thank you. If you are subscribed to my channel, once again, thank you. If not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon. That way, next time I go live or put a video out, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge. What do you got to lose, right? But if you are subscribed, thank you. And then finally, also in the description box, there's 2 Facebook links. The top Facebook link takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. Basically, I say this in every video. My YouTube channel, my Facebook group, Facebook page, it's all called the same thing. I dumb it down for a moron like me. I can remember what it's called. What's the page called? What's my YouTube channel? It's all called the same thing. I dumb it down for myself. We have over 3,900 members in the group. Doing very, very well. Usually once I get done going live, I'll spend like the next couple hours, putting stuff in the group and in the page, which I'll go over in a minute. So whether it's a video, whether it's I'm sharing an article, a post, a picture, something just showing some stats on a ball player, something making fun of the Eagles or the Cowboys, which are my personal favorites. Right? I try to get up to 10 things every day in there. And if you become a member, not only do I put stuff in there, but the members post stuff in there as well. So there's a ton of Giants information going into the group every day. The second Facebook link takes you to my Facebook page. It's a page. I'm the administrator in there. So I'm the only one that posts in the page. But it's the same thing. It's once I get done going live here, I'll put, a bunch of stuff in the group and in the page. What are we at here in the page? With over 1,900 likes, and we're over 6,300 people who are following the page. The page is really doing good. Simply marvelous. But as I said, it's the same thing. Every day, 7 days a week, there's a ton of stuff going in here. As I said, whether it's made a video, a post, a picture, I'm sharing an article, something just showing some stats on a ball player. Once again, something making fun of the Eagles or the Cowboys, right? And I said, I don't commingle. So basically, for the most part, whatever I put in the page, I don't put in the group. Whatever I put in the group, I don't put in the page. I try to keep it separate, so that way if you go to the page, you get a bunch of different Giant stuff compared to what you get in the group, right? I said, unless, I find something really making fun of the Eagles, because that's what I'm put on this planet for, to make fun of the Philadelphia Eagles. So if I can do that, I just want to share that with everybody. So this post, I might share that with the page and the group. But other than that, I try to keep everything separate, right? So if you go to the page and you like it and you follow it, and you go to the group and you become a member, every day there's a ton of New York Giants information that you get every day. And like I say all the time, right? If you go to the page and you like it and you follow it and you go to the group and you become a member, I said, if you're not 100% satisfied, you get your money back, guaranteed. All right, with all that stuff said and done out of the way with, Daniel Jones. Well, this is, I saw this I mean, I guess the politically right thing to say, I guess. I mean, you're not going to have you have a quarterback coming out. I said, Dan, you think you can, how you feeling going up against other teams this year and stuff? Well, I don't know. It kind of sucks. So we might win a couple games this year, but I mean, there's a lot of teams we can't compete with. We'll be lucky to score a touchdown against the Eagles if we're lucky. We might lose by 50-7, because we're that bad. If we play a high school team, I think we got a good shot there. But, so of course, what do you expect them to say? But, like the confidence, is something you got to hear, something you want to hear, but, when we start playing, when we played the Cowboys last year, obviously we had the lead in both games. And of course, we just let it flitter away, right? We looked good in Thanksgiving in the first half. In the second half, I think they had the 13th string players in for the Giants in the second half of the Thanksgiving game. And then, of course, then we had the lead against the Cowboys when Saquon took it to the house from 30 yards out, 35 yards out. The place is going bananas, going crazy. Here we go. Whee! And then the Cowboys ran off a bunch of points in the game. Giants lost again. But we were beating them in both games. Now we got to learn to finish, right? But I mean, other than that, we did have a little bit of a soft schedule last year, right? A little bit of a soft schedule, but some of the teams, Seattle, turnovers killed us against Seattle. Richie James's 2 fumbles on the punts, I believe, led to 10 points. I mean, if you look at the stats, the Seahawks had 250 yards of offense or something like that. I mean, they didn't walk up and down the field. The Giants, the Seahawks won. They won fair and square. They were the better team. All that stuff. But the turnovers, they'll get you. But obviously, when this year, we got at least playing the Bills, right? Jets won't be a walkover. Dolphins won't be a walkover. But, we're playing a couple big boy pants games. We need to put the big boy pants on, right? So we don't lose $3,452 million to nothing against the Eagles, right? So we got to put the big boy pants on those 2 games. And then, of course, the 49er game. That's going to be need to put the big boy pants on. You're in big boy territory, especially on the road, right? I mean, whatever it was a couple years ago, when we played the 49ers at home, it was the 3rd week of the season, and they beat us. They lost a few guys to injury, quite a few guys to injury, and they had bunch of backups in there, some of the positions, and they still killed us. Killed us. I mean, I thought we had our high school team in there. The way we looked, it was just that pathetic. But so nice to hear him say that we can compete with anybody. But saying is one thing, doing it's something else. I got the article here somewhere. There we go. So Daniel Jones, who is this here? Who is this? Big Blue View. I'm so happy these guys put these articles out. Boy, I'll tell you, I'm too freaking stupid to come up with all this stuff on my own. It says Daniel Jones, we can compete with anybody. Daniel Jones, quarterback, the Giants quarterback Daniel Jones is definitely confident going into year 2, which is huge, right? A little less thinking, a little more reacting. Dropping back the pass, we're going to start looking for hopefully all the receivers, hopefully all, scanning the field. Hopefully we'll have a little more time in the pocket. He'll feel more comfortable in the pocket to hopefully scan all 4 or 5 of the receivers on the field. I hope I don't see too many YouTube videos like I did last year. Daniel Jones is coming back, looking over here, looking at whatever, 1 or 2 maybe, whatever, while Darius Slayton is down the left sideline wide open all by himself, and Daniel Jones doesn't throw the ball down there. So hopefully more confidence, right? He'll know where the guys are at. Better weapons, hopefully better offensive line. So, a second season in the same system is huge. So, all that stuff should bring, once we get Saquon situated, you have him back there. You get Darren Waller. Some of these the younger wide receivers we got, all should build some confidence. But also, when you start going up against the Eagles, you better. If we have to lose both games to the Eagles, can we just at least be competitive, right? It says, of course, Jones has plenty of reasons to be confident. Brian Daboll was named the Coach of the Year, AP Coach of the Year, in his very first year as head coach. He was named Assistant Coach of the Year in 2020. Kafka, meanwhile, did well enough in his first season as offensive coordinator with the Giants, right, that the Colts, the Panthers, the Texans, and the Cardinals all requested interviews with him for their vacant head coaching position. So one season with the Giants, he got 4 coaching opportunities. And of course, Jones had the best year of his career under them. Yeah. But as I said, let's not forget that rookie season, right? Let's not forget that 24. And I think he was in, well, they said he was in 13 games. The one game he played like one series against the Cowboys, which is, he started in 12 games, I believe it was. He threw 24 touchdown passes. He also threw 12 interceptions, and he had, I think, 712 fumbles. But that's besides the point. But, he did have 24 touchdown passes his rookie season in 12 games. This year, in 16 games, he had 15 touchdown passes. So, but if you look at it overall, the amount of turnovers he had or did not have, the 7 rushing touchdowns, the 708 rushing yards, right? The 15 touchdowns to the 5 interceptions, over 3,000 yards passing, all that combined. That was definitely his best season. Let's see. But that was 2022. The story for 2023 depends on how the team builds off of their success. Absolutely. It's a different season. It's not like, well, we did all right last year, so of course we're going to do better this year. Of course. No. Says we feel like we made progress last year and took a step. But what we do from this point on, you start over, Jones says. Yep. It's about what you do now. We had a good spring, and we have to roll that into training camp and make sure we do everything we can. The process of getting ready for the 2023 season has already started for the Giants offseason program and minicamp, and we will continue with training camp at the end of July. In the meantime, Jones will host the Giants offensive skill position players for a workout as Eli Manning did in the past. We're going to get together pretty soon and get some work in, he said. We've gone down to Charlotte in the past, and I think that's the plan again. Speaking of skill position players, the specter of Saquon Barkley's contract situation is hanging over the Giants offseason. That's going to get done. He isn't under contract as he has yet to sign with the franchise tag, and the two sides are still working on a contract compromise. And he said, unsurprisingly, Jones is pulling for the two sides to reach a long-term agreement. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Saquon in the backfield means better production from Jones, without question. No doubt about that. Saquon is always working hard, Jones says. He's always going to be in good shape. He's always going to look good. Anyone who has been around him is going to expect that from him. We're talking all the time, staying in touch, getting together when we can. I know he's got a lot going on, and I really hope the two sides can come together. I think they will. So, I'd like to hear some confidence from your quarterback. But of course, obviously, talking's one thing. Putting it on the, showing it on the field is something else. So we'll have to wait and see. But we do have a couple big boy pant games coming up this year. As I said, they had AFC East. The Dolphins, can be pretty good. The Jets can be interesting to see if Rodgers can survive their offensive line. The Bills, right? But the Seahawks once again, the 49ers, the 2 against the Cowboys, 2 against the Eagles. Never discount the Commanders. Not that the Commanders are going to go 16-1 and win the Super Bowl. Not saying that. I think they're a little weak in the quarterbacking position. But they got a good defense. They got some good offensive weapons, and they're going to give the Giants a run for the money both times they play them. So, Turns. Micah Parsons said Daniel Jones is as good as Jalen Hurts. Well, good. I like that. I mean, I'll tell you what, man. Micah says a lot. He does, but I mean, you got to appreciate it. The man's got some passion. Now, whether you agree with what he says or not, or whether you agree with him. I mean, what was it like then? An NBA playoffs seemed like every other night he had a different team's jersey. I don't know if he had the Sixers jersey on, then he had the Celtics jersey on, then he had like another team. But you got to love his passion. I mean, he talks a lot, but he backs it up. I mean, you got to love his passion. He would kind of know because he's played against those guys. So I mean, you got to respect, what he says. And man, could you imagine if he was a Giant? Go back to that draft. Dave Gettleman was like, well, I got Micah Parsons there. Or we could trade back and get this guy, Kadarius, which I guess wound up in the long run, I guess, turned out to be Darren Waller. But, man, could you imagine? Now, obviously, you got to also think, right, that if you start looking back, and it's like the butterfly effect. So if we took Micah Parsons, we wouldn't have been that crappy. So we wouldn't have been drafting down that low, and we wouldn't have gotten the Bears pick, right? So we wouldn't have gotten Evan Neal. So we wouldn't have been that crappy. So we wouldn't have gotten Kayvon Thibodeau. Then if we had Micah Parsons, would we have drafted Azeez Ojulari? So you got like the butterfly effect. So what if we did this? What would that have changed in the long run? You know what I mean? But sure would have been nice to have him on it. I mean, could you imagine Sexy Dexy and Leo Lyon, and then, you have Micah Parsons and just, so many other pieces out there. Wow. But it is what it is. But, I mean, he would know. I mean, he played against them, But as I said, I mean, Jaylen had a fantastic season last year. Great job. This, that, and it came close to winning the Super Bowl and all that. But also look who he's with. Once again, a theory of everything's all relative, right? I mean, the RPO, is maybe a little opens up a little more for the Eagles. Why? Because they get 2 Hall of Fame offensive linemen. The rest of their offensive linemen are really good. Their offensive line is phenomenal. But also, you got DeVonta Smith running around out there, A.J. Brown out there. That takes, they got to back up a little bit. They can't crowd the line of scrimmage. Jalen Hurts is a phenomenal athlete, right? So, Miles Sanders, you give him a hole. The dude's he's gaining yards. So I think Dallas Goedert is a good tight end, right? It's all, if you ain't got no wide receivers, if your offensive line is porous, it's kind of tough to, get a lot of good numbers. So, I mean, he took advantage of it, and he had a great season. But this is another season. We'll have to wind up waiting and see. So, but oh my God! Oh, then we got edge rushers once again. Man, I'm dying to see if we can get ourselves a third edge rusher. But who is this here? Who is this? Which one? Fan-sided. G-Men HQ. The 3 best pass rushers the Giants can still target for depth. Now, I don't know what Ngakoue is going to want. Of course, they got good old Ngakoue here. The guy, obviously he's, good in those passing situations. Yeah, you're not going to be bringing him in on first down to stop the run. But, as a change of pace kind of guy, not a change of pace, but I mean, to give Azeez a rest or Kayvon a rest or something like that on passing situations. Oh, yeah, absolutely. The problem is that, what he might want to get paid, I don't blame him. You're putting up double-digit sacks. You don't want to get paid $3 million. He might want, maybe double digits. What the hell is PFF having that here? Hold on here. I got this here somewhere. I just got to navigate through the 312,496 tabs I got open here. There we go. There we go. All right, Ngakoue, what do they got him at? $12.5 million a year. So they got him. It's just, once again, this is what they speculate at. He could sign for 15. He could sign for 8. I'm just throwing, this is all I'm saying here. PFF projected contract, 2 years, $12.5 million a year. So the Giants aren't going to bring in a guy for $12.5 million a year. I don't even know if they could even finagle. I mean, they could somehow work out where they could get him on the contract, but they might have to kick some money down the road, and I don't know if they're going to want to do that. But I mean, I'd have a hard time, bringing in this guy here for $12.5 million a year and using him as like a backup edge rusher. I mean, I don't see that happen. I see somebody bringing him in, as a starter. Or getting a lot of snaps. But then also, you also start looking at there's some of those, the red flags. Where are we at here? Once again, I got to find it. I mean, he's been on, all right, where are we at? Okay, 8 seasons, right? 8 seasons. Oh, wait, and my bad. He's getting ready to enter his 8th season. So his first 4 were with the Jaguars. So basically, I guess what they're saying is past 3, I haven't checked, but his past 3 seasons, he's been with the Colts, the Raiders, the Ravens, and the Vikings. 4 teams in 3 years. I mean, I don't know if the Giants, it's like basically rent the edge rusher. That's, we're going to bring him in, we're going to rent them for a year, and we're going to let him go. I mean, I'm not so sure if that's something the Giants want to do. At this point in time, I said he had 9.5 sacks for the Colts last season. Said his numbers are impressive, but he shows how valuable he can be with the team's defense. It's a bit of a surprise that Ngakoue hasn't been swooped up yet. But also, you got to look at sometimes too. Maybe he hasn't been swooped up yet, but some of these guys have been around for a while. Like, the next 2 guys I'm going to talk about. And Ngakoue, I mean, they've been in the league for a long time. They don't want a training camp. And if they're going to, and if they're coming in, these guys, these edge rushers I'm going to talk about, obviously Ngakoue is number 1, and the next 2 guys, they're coming in, and especially these next 2 guys. I mean, they're like rent an edge, right? Right? They're situational guys, going to play maybe 25 snaps, maybe 30 a game. I mean, they don't want to go through training camp. I mean, I got to play. I'm gonna run on the field in this series, and I'm gonna play 3 snaps, and I'm gonna go off the sideline and drink some Kool-Aid for the next 10 minutes, and run on the field, play 3 more snaps, and run off the sideline and drink some more Kool-Aid. They don't want training camp. So a lot of these guys are kind of holding off a little bit. I got to sign with the team. Let's get in the training camp. Some of these guys, they don't want the training camp. They want to take a nice little vacation, right? Sign with the team, make some money, play it all out on the field on Sunday, and then be with the team during the year. But some of these guys don't want to go through training camp. They may not need it. They may not want to get banged up, may not want to get injured or whatever. So, so that's why some of these guys are still out there, because they're taking their time. But so then we got, after Ngakoue, these next 2 guys, I mean, they're good, but, they got some experience. Next one is Justin Houston. What does PFF have on him? I mean, Melvin Ingram's out there too. Melvin Ingram and Houston are both 34. Yeah. Melvin Ingram, I'm throwing out Melvin Ingram. He's a bonus edge rusher. Ding, 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 bonus. They have him 1 year, $4 million. He's 34. Last year, he graded at a 71, according to PFF. But then, but in this article, they're talking about Justin Houston. Same thing. He's 34, so is Ingram. Same thing here. Justin Houston, they have him projected 1 year, $4 million. Giants could sign Ingram or they could sign Houston. But once again, it's like rent an edge. You're renting them maybe for the season. Now, also, it's kind of, I mean, if the Giants were ready to kick in the Super Bowl door and something like that, and having one of these guys on the team, would really help that, maybe getting to the Super Bowl, at least getting to the championship game or something like that. I could see that. But I mean, I don't know if the Giants are looking at something like that. And do they want to spend money on a guy if they're probably only going to have for 1 year? I don't know. But I said, but Ingram and Houston are both out there, both 34. And both certainly capable of rushing the passer. Then the first guy they got out here, I love this guy, right? He's absolutely he's a freak in nature and all of that, but the problem with him, he gets injured a lot. Good old Jadeveon Clowney, right? Now, how old is he? What do we got here? He is, they don't have 30. So seems like he's been around forever, but he gets injured a lot. Clowney's somewhat bizarre NFL journey continues, and he will almost certainly be playing somewhere besides Cleveland in 2023 after comments he made about frustration with his role led to him being inactive for Week 18. So, sometimes, something like that. He makes remarks about being inactive. Is that something Shane or Dave will want to bring it in? I don't know. Says the multi-year deal he's been seeking for several off seasons may ultimately never come at this point, and he'll be a year-to-year mercenary for around $10 million annually. So it's just PFF has him 1 year, $8 million. Once again, I don't know. Do the Giants want to bring somebody in who gets injured quite a bit for $8 million if he's going to be a backup edge? I don't see that happening. Says Clowney has also struggled to stay on the field due to a handful of injuries over the past few years, failing to reach 500 snaps played for the second time in 3 seasons. All that said, Clowney still flashes his tantalizing number 1 overall pick talent, just enough to make him an intriguing option for many teams. Clowney, always a stout run defender and strong edge rusher, also missed just 7.4% of potential tackles, his first season below 12.5% since 2016. So, but, once again, I'd like, if one of these guys, these edge rushers we got, maybe if Baldonado comes, he's, or Toman Fox takes another step, where maybe we get Ellison Smith actually stay on the field, some of these other guys. But I would like to see him maybe somewhere along the line get another edge rusher in there. That would really, really be good. I don't know if they're going to want to spend like $5 or $10 million on a backup or, a rotating edge rusher. That I'm not so sure. Clowney has talked his way off of a couple. Yeah, so that's the one problem. As I said it before, now I was on social media, whatever. Social media can really be fantastic, it can be absolutely wonderful, but it can also be your worst enemy. And, you put something on social media, you can, it's going to turn you off from some teams. Now, as I said, you try to get, the Giants are trying to get a culture going. Now, of course, everybody says a culture, of course. And I'm not saying, well, the Giants, they're really serious about the culture, and they're the only one who's really serious. Of course, all the teams are serious about the culture, but I'm saying, if you want somebody who comes in, something goes a little bad, and then they just start, do they want that? They want that in their locker room? I don't know. But also it's like, notice like some of the guys that they draft, they're captains. They were captains of the college program. Now, let's be frank about it. You're not going to have Iowa State playing Ball State, and the captain from Ball State, is on ESPN, and he turns to the camera and says, "Throw me the ball. I want the ball. Get me out of here." That's not happening. You don't really see that in college football, right? Too much. You see that stuff in the pros, right? But if they're a captain, of their university or college, there's usually a reason why. That's some of the Giants were drafting some captains. They take responsibility and all and everything. Social media is a great. We got you. Let's see. And the cuckoo clock. You heard the cuckoo? Yeah, that means it's 11 o'clock here in South Jersey. Yeah, I got to keep pulling a string on that thing, everything, because the cuckoo, the weights fall down, and within 24 hours you got to pull it. You got to get the weights to go back up. So I tell you what, I get that cuckoo clock a lot, like in every video, because if I start at 10:30 and if I'm talking for over half an hour, the cuckoo clock go off. Last night it went off 2 times because I was on for an hour. And so it went off at 11 o'clock and 11:30. That was my first time I think I ever spent the whole hour on a video. Okay, so then we got what's the next one here? Oh, CBS. They got listing a red flag. Some guy, who's this guy here? Some guy is really worried from CBS. Kwity Benjamin from CBS. He's all worried. He has a giant. CBS lists the biggest red flag for the New York Giants ahead of this season. Guy Cody, what's his name? Kwity Benjamin. He's very worried. The offense for the Giants is serious potential entering next campaign. With all the new faces in town, quarterback Daniel Jones finally has a supporting cast that should help reach his full potential in East Rutherford. Having said that, we can't forget about how vanilla the offense looked at times last season. But I mean, also, yeah. But I mean, that was also due, to maybe the weakish offensive line, the weak, the lack of talent that you have, I mean, how many times I'm going to be talking about this guy's point in a second, but how many times, do they want to have Daniel Jones stand and hold the ball in the pocket for an excessive amount of time when they're not so sure about them holding up against the rush, so also, and they also realized that the team they had, the offense they had, the talent they had, or lack thereof, they can't be winging the ball all over the place, creating turnovers. They have to get the turnovers down, right? They can't beat themselves. It's really difficult. I get it, like the way they tried to do it last year, like dinking and dunking and dunking and dinking all the way down the field and trying to score a touchdown, 6, 7, 8, 10-yard completions at a time without something going wrong. But they also realized now that keeping it simple, maybe vanilla, whatever, or simple, try to prevent the turnovers, because the turnovers were just going to kill you. I mean, especially if the Giants can't strike big, they'd have to dink and dunk their way down to get a field goal or a touchdown. You can't give the other team an easy touchdown. So, they with the talent or lack thereof, they really, really had to protect the ball. Really had to protect the ball. So, I mean, that's one thing they did. Only had the 5 interceptions, or actually it was 6. Tyrod threw an interception, but I mean, in regular season, they had 6 interceptions. So, let's see here. But while having said that, we can't forget about how vanilla the offense looked at times last season. And with the aerial attack struggling to get going on a consistent basis, while things are looking great for offensive coordinator Mike Kafka these days, that doesn't mean people aren't worried about how things will turn out in 2023. So in a piece, CBS Sports dropped its biggest red flags for each contender with week 1 around the corner. For the Giants, it's their downfield attack that has CBS's Kwity Benjamin worried. Kwity Benjamin is keeping himself up at nighttime worrying about the Giants' downfield aerial attack. He says Daniel Jones finally showcased franchise-level poise in 2022 under the table, and the Giants finally got him some help this offseason, adding Waller, Paris Campbell, and Jalen Hyatt, among others, at pass catcher. But all of their key acquisitions have to prove they can stay healthy, and Jones still has yet to prove he can air it out consistently when it matters most. But we do know that Daniel Jones, when he throws deep, can be a very accurate quarterback. Very, very. It says, remember when Darius Slayton said it's time for the Ferraris to leave the garage in the wintertime? The veteran wideout back on a 2-year deal is ready for the offense to be explosive this campaign. Obviously, Brian Daboll and Kafka would love for that to happen too. The fact of the matter is that Jones is going to have to take more downfield shots in the coming months. Adding Paris Campbell, Waller, and Hyatt and more is only going to help Big Blue try and record more head-turning plays. Jones is coming off his best year in his career, but only tossing for 15 touchdowns and had people calling him out in a negative way. Let's hope that won't be the case this regular season. And knock on wood, the playoffs too. You got that right. But you also have to start saying, is that, taking more shots down the field, might wind up creating a couple more interceptions. So we have to keep that in mind. He's a clown. It was vanilla because they weren't sure that they had their quarterback and the personnel. Oh, yeah. I mean, the personnel was, that sometimes the offensive line wasn't there. I mean, I said, yeah, maybe he got Slayton. It was the fast guy, but Sterling Shepard got hurt. Right, Wan'Dale Robinson caught his first pass of the season against the Titans, 5-yard reception. He gets hurt. He misses a few games, comes back, has a good game against the Lions, and then he gets hurt, and he's out for the rest of the season. So then you got to get Hodgins in. Nobody knows anything about Hodgins. He got let go from the Bills. If the Bill, maybe he couldn't have made their team. I don't know. It's kind of tough. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to get my leg over my dog here. Sorry. But, do we know he was going to be as decent as he was last year? No. Right. We didn't have we got Richie James. Richie James led the team in reception. Well, he was tied with Saquon, but as far as wide receivers, then you had, Cager and you had Bellinger. We had Myrick last year, right? Just a bunch of, not household tight end names. What are you going to do? Daniel's going to get in the huddle. Go, all right, Daniel Bellinger. All right, I want you to run a seam pattern. Just take the top off the defense, baby. I got you. Right? But like I said, I really think that what they thought with what the talent they had or lacked they had, they couldn't beat themselves. They couldn't we're just going to start slinging it. And we throw 4 interceptions. All right, we got it. We're going to throw some touchdowns. They're going to beat themselves, if they start winging it all over the place. So they had to try to scheme the guys open, keep it simple or whatever, keep it close and try to get Saquon going and all that and everything and just try to matriculate the ball down the field and score some points. But they could not beat themselves. As I said, their talent, Evan Neal struggled. Glowinski sometimes, it was on skates sometimes when he was in pass protection. So it's a work in progress. But I think they certainly added some more talent this year. That's for sure. So, but with the talent they added, Daniel Jones better not throw 15 touchdown passes this year. If he does, that means I said one or two things. I said this in my video before. Either he's hurt and he missed half the season, or we got a problem. So. All right, and then what is it? What's this other one? This other one. ESPN. Man, I'll tell you, no love for the Giants. They got the Giants ranked the whole roster ranked 18th in the NFL. They're not even the top half. They were 9-7-1, won the playoff game. Then, of course, they got annihilated in the second playoff game, but they made playoffs, won a playoff game, and the roster, and they added all this talent. They went to a draft. They added, all these guys. Wow. Where were they at? I don't even know where they had the Giants ranked last year. 38th, maybe. I don't know. Come on. Wow. 18th. Says New York Giants mandatory minicamp is in the rearview mirror, and we're still a month away from the start of the training camp. In other words, we're solidly in the dog days of summer. Yes, we are. That brief window in the calendar when the NFL is actually on hiatus. The dearth of actual football news opens the door for outlets to try their hand at predicting how teams will stack up in the regular season. This is the time of year when we usually get swamped in our preseason power rankings, position group rankings, and various other logistics. ESPN's Seth Walder and Mike Clay decided to rank the 32 rosters. Wow. Focusing on each roster's greatest strengths and weaknesses, the biggest X factor on the roster, as well as non-starter to know, as far as a non-starter to know. They ranked the Giants squarely in the middle of the pack at 18th overall. But yeah, that's right, so much squared. But that's also in the back half, though, too. Squarely in the middle would be 18. 16. This is 18. So they don't even have them in the top half. So the strongest unit is their interior defensive line, without question. Yeah. With Oshane, Nunez-Roches, Leonard Williams, sexy one. Of course, we have to wait and see what Jordan Riley can do. Can DJ Davidson come back? I'm dying to see what Ryder Anderson, since he's beefed up, can do. Can Vernon Butler make the final 53? I'll have to wait and see. But definitely without question. Says there really isn't any question that the interior defensive line is undisputed strength for the Giants. The starting duo of Sexy Dexy and Leonard Williams is pretty easily in the top 5 of the NFL. Yep, and their depth would start for most teams. Oh, yeah. Giants could find themselves in an enviable problem of having to decide which player to cut after the preseason wraps up. Well, they're not cutting Oshane unless something's wrong with his meniscus and he can't play. And they're not cutting Nacho. That's not happening. So the Giants struggled badly against the run last year, and the additions show a clear desire to address the weakness. Both the defensive line getting pushed off the line of scrimmage in the absence of Leonard Williams and linebackers not being able to flow with the ball contributed to the additions of Nacho and A'Shawn Robinson should help that. The Giants' clear desire to add so many big linemen could also give us a clue as to how Wink Martindale intends to call his defense. The Giants' cornerback position could give the defense line a run for its money after addition of Deonte Banks. But until the rookie proves himself and a Cordell Flott and Aaron Robinson step up to solidify the corner slot position, the interior defensive line definitely gets the nod. That's their strength. And they have their weakness. The weakest unit, the wide receiver. Now here they point out nothing but the negative stuff. All right. They said the question marks here are massive. Once again, all they do is point out everything that's humanly possibly negative. Here is who is competing for the Giants wide receivers. They got Wan'Dale Robinson, and they point out he tore his ACL in week 11. They don't point out that he had 9 or 10 catches against the Detroit Lions in that game, had almost 100 yards receiving, but just that he tore his ACL. Then they say Sterling, of course, then they put up Sterling Shepard. Shepard tore his ACL in week 3, of course, but they don't tell about what kind of very good wide receiver he is when he is healthy. Then they go Paris Campbell. Of course, they just point out he's missed 34 games in 4 seasons. They don't point out the fact that he had a very good season last year. I believe he played in almost every game last year. They just point out that he missed 34 games in 4 seasons. Then they go Jamison Crowder. He missed 24 games over the last 3 seasons. Then they point out Darius Slayton was on the trade block last offseason, but they don't talk about some of the good things he does. They go Isaiah Hodgins. They said he has 13 appearances in 3 seasons, but they don't talk about how well he did in basically the second half of last season. That very, very, very impressive. I mean, he's not a number 1 wide receiver. Don't think he ever will be. They don't mention about how impressive he was in the final half of last season. Very, very impressive. And then they talk about Jalen Hyatt. They just say a 3rd-round rookie. I mean, they don't talk about, they bring up the 5-touchdown game against Alabama or how fast he is, or that Steve Smith, the ex-Carolina Panther guy, he's cracking me up. He said, he's talking in the video. He's like, Jalen Hyatt. This guy is, every time I see him, he is wide. He's like, I've never seen a wide receiver that's always open. He said, every time I turn on his film, he is wide open. And he had me cracking up. Then he said, let's see here. He said, will quantity over quality work out? Well, we'll see. That's what Clay says. So the wide receiver and pass catcher in general is an intriguing unit for the Giants. It could well be the weakest position group on the team. Whew. I mean, overall, you're not talking about like a guard or a center or nothing. You're talking about the offensive line, the wide receivers, the running backs, the quarterbacks, defensive line, edge. I guess that's fair. I mean, safety. I mean, we got Xavier McKinney. We got some other guys. So, well, I guess you could say that because we really don't have a number 1 wide receiver. So I guess you could kind of say that. But if things break the right way, it could be a strength. Here we go. Jalen Hyatt could prove to be the playmaker the Giants have been missing through the air. He showed plenty of deep speed, good ball skills, and reliable hands for Hendon Hooker. But he's also a rookie who had success in a very simplistic offense, which is true. This is true. And as Clay points out, injuries are a very real concern for this position group. Now, as I said, I mean, obviously, yeah, you certainly look at it like, a couple of the guys he's talking about, have missed some time. So that is obviously a question. Absolutely. Says the runner-up here might be the safe. Oh, geez, look at this. Wow. Me and him are thinking alike. Says the runner-up here might be the safety position. As I just said, safeties. I said you got Xavier McKinney and you got some other guys who are bidding for that spot next to Xavier. And then, of course, when Wink puts 3, I heard we had 4 safeties on the field last year at some points in time on the defense. So you got Xavier McKinney, who's going to be definitely, for the most part, we're going to have 2. Who's going to be the second one? Who's going to be the third one? And I guess somewhere along the line, if we have 4 safeties on the field, who's going to be the 4th one? You don't know. Got a lot of guys battling it out for that second position. So let's see. Xavier McKinney is one of the more underrated safeties in the NFL, though the time lost to injury throughout his young career, 11 games in 2020 and 8 games last year, likely plays a role. Yeah, because he broke his foot, right? Missed a ton of time in his rookie season, but when he came back the final 5 games, he looked pretty good. Looked really, really good. It's just a shame. There was just a lot of reps that he lost, especially his rookie season. Very important season to get some reps in there. However, there are questions behind McKinney. Bobby McCain, Nick McLeod seem to be in competition for the second starting job. McCain is an experienced veteran defensive back, but he's also closing on 30 years old. McLeod, meanwhile, played well last year, but has never been a full-time safety. Nope. Dane Belton also remains something of a question mark as his playing time dropped off later in the year. Then don't forget about Javarius Owens. Let's see what he can do, right? Jason Pinnock. So we have a lot of, without question, there's going to be a lot of competition there. It's just be interesting. That's one of those battles. It's going to be, say, who's going to be out there? Who's the starting 2? We know McKinney will be. Who's that other guy? Week 1 against the Cowboys. The safety position could be a strong one for the Giants, but we need to recognize that it isn't a sure thing. Nope. And this is the X factor. They have an X factor. The X factor is Evan Neal. Good point. His rookie season was one to forget, ranking 58th and 54th out of 64 in pass block win rate and run block win rate, respectively, per ESPN Analytics and NFL Next Gen Stats. So 58th and 54th, not impressive. But let's not forget he was working through some injuries, though, too. Can't forget about that. Rookie and injuries. Can't forget about that. With an excellent LT, with an excellent left tackle. I thought they're talking about with an excellent Lawrence Taylor, with an excellent left tackle, and Andrew Thomas. On the other side, if Neal can play well and give the Giants 2 strong tackles, that would go a long way in supporting quarterback Daniel Jones. Absolutely. And let's not forget about Michael Schmitz, the center. I mean, even if you have bad, cornerback, what am I talking about? Cornerback tackles, if they get beat, they can at least push the guy maybe a little bit past the quarterback can step up in the pocket. But if Glowinski's on his roller skates getting pushed back into Daniel Jones, if Michael Schmitz has problems, if the pocket's collapsing, we're in a lot of trouble. So having Evan Neal is that's the X factor. That's a huge one. We certainly need for him to take a big step forward. But let's not also forget. Whatever. You're going back, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever. Guys on the defensive line, for the most part, they were, you have the defensive end, defensive tackle, right? So you have, this defensive end is on this side. This defensive end is on that side. In the third quarter, this defensive end is still on this side. This defensive end is still on that side. Fourth quarter, this defensive end is still here. Nowadays, it's like, that Evan Neal, he kind of struggling this year. He got rolled up on his knee, and we think his knee's a little banged up. You know what? Hey, Pete, you're our best edge rushers. Well, I'll tell you what, you're not going up against the left tackle this week. You're going to go up against the right tackle. How's that sound? You want a couple sacks this week? Yeah. Okay. Well, so they just take the best edge rusher and they just put him, why on earth would you want to take your best edge rusher when you can easily flip them. That's what they do nowadays, right? I mean, why would you want to put them up against Andrew Thomas, right? Yeah, it's going to be tough this week, but yeah, maybe you can get a pressure or so against Andrew Thomas. But we're going to, we don't want to put you up with Evan Neal because he's struggling right now. Wherever their hot guy is, that's who Evan Neal's going to be going up against. So it wasn't like that, 10, 20 years ago. When I grew up, the left defensive end was the left defensive end. There was no flip-flopping or nothing like that. Nowadays, it's totally different. So Evan Neal would be a huge X factor. Oh, yeah, without question. I mean, if he can come on and Michael Schmitz, and especially if we get a Zudo in there and healthy, and if him or Bredesen takes over the left guard position, oh, yeah, without question. Personal, okay, he's a clown who was vanilla. Oh, yeah. You got that right, Terrence. Yep. All right, guys. Was my 50 minutes. Sorry, Terrence. The cuckoo clock's only going to go off one time this night. Maybe we'll try twice tomorrow night. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm going to cut it at 50 minutes. So, guys, it's been 50 minutes. Me shoot my mouth off. Terrence, is always, buddy. Good talking to you, pal. So, whoever spends any time watching me, listening to me, thank you. If anybody spends any time watching the replays, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. It's always an honor, guys. And as always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants! Woo! Oh, yeah!